Good morning, Eddie. Just firstly, a word on last Sunday at Brighton. Obviously an eventful game, particularly the second half, but on reflection, are you of the mindset that it could be a very valuable point for you?
Yeah, I think I was of the mindset of that pretty much straight away. I think when you score so late in the game, that has to be a positive for us. We were chasing a winner. And on reflection, watching the game back, I thought we were pretty good in the game. I was pleased. Apart from I thought our crossing quality was off, which is unlike us, certainly of late. And the last pass was maybe missing, but a lot of control and a lot of good things to take from the game.
Has everyone come through that match okay, or have you picked up any new injuries this week?
We've got a couple of players we're looking at and assessing, and we'll see how they are from the weekend. But apart from that, we're okay. We've trained well this week. I've been pleased with the group. Very focused on our next match.
How important do you think it will be to have two of the final three games that you play in front of your own fans at St James's Park, starting with Chelsea on Sunday?
Yeah, I think that's vital for us. I think our home form's been pretty good throughout the season. Great environment to play in. I'm sure it will be a great atmosphere on Sunday. We need the crowd with us. We always say that, but it's absolutely imperative in these last two games that they're there. We know they will be for us. And then, of course, we have to perform.
What do you think about the fact that it's a 12 noon kick-off? The match has been moved around the schedule, and whenever it was going to be played, Saturday or Sunday, it was going to be at lunchtime. I think a lot of fans feel that those early kick-offs don't lend themselves as well to a noisy atmosphere as evening matches, but do you have a view on that?
I'd probably echo that sentiment. I don't think it would be the kick-off time that we would choose in preference, but it is there. We've had some good success with those kick-offs. I think we have to be ready for the game. I think I've said before this week, sometimes with the early kick-offs, it can surprise you a little bit. You wake up and it's just very unusual for the players, and they have to adapt. And then the crowd have to adapt. We all have to adapt to be ready for the kick-off and be in full voice.
And finally, Chelsea were in European action last night, Thursday night. They've got such a big and deep squad that they may well play an entirely different 11 against you on Sunday. Is that what you're expecting, or did you take anything from their semi-final second leg?
Not too much. I think the game and the tie was pretty much dead. They had a comfortable lead. We expect them to, without going into too much detail, revert to near their last Premier League side, which is an impressive game against Liverpool, and they've performed very well of late. Look like they've got a lot of confidence, attacking players back in form, so yeah, it should be a good game.
Thank you. Keith?
Eddie, may I poke my nose in and ask who those players are that you're assessing?
You may.
Yeah.
But let's keep it under wraps and see if they make it.
Is this, with everything at stake, and obviously the two clubs locked on points, locked on goal difference, going for the Champions League, is this the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, I think every game we'll have between now and the end of the season probably becomes our biggest game of the season. Maybe you could debate the cup final there with it. But now that's gone and that's behind us, we know the importance of where we finish in the Premier League, and we're doing everything we can to finish as high as we can. I think we've all said in this room there's a possibility it will go to the last game. All we can do is take care of our next opponent and to try and give everything we can to win, and it'll be a difficult game. I think Chelsea are a good team, and we've played them twice already this season, so we know their qualities. I think Stamford Bridge was one of our hardest games of the season.
Yeah, and I guess difficult to judge from that first match in the cup at home, because I think Enzo made 11 changes that night. I think he made 10 last night again, and that just underlines the strength and depth that they have, and it shows, I suppose, that they're putting a priority into this game on Sunday.
Yeah, I think understandably, as I said, the tie last night was almost done. So I think they have a really deep squad, a lot of players, a lot of quality players. But I think they found a consistency in their Premier League selection recently, where they haven't changed too much. And I think they've been successful with that philosophy, so I don't imagine too many changes.
If you could have pictured the season before the start, a trophy in the bag early, and going down to the wire for a place in the Champions League with no meaningless games, it feels as though even at this stage you've extracted the maximum out of the season, and there's been so many big games throughout the whole campaign.
Yeah, I sort of feel that way. I think we have tried to extract as much as we can out of the squad, and I think every member of the squad has given their absolute best in return, and I think that's been a really good combination for us. I see the players week in, week out, day in, day out, giving everything in training. I mean, training is very competitive. And then the games, I think we've been, from the Brentford game on, it's very consistent. We've had a really high motivation to try and win. And I hope that doesn't change in the last 3 games.
Just finally from me, apologies if you were asked this last week, but would Champions League qualification make a difference to the way you tackle the summer in terms of transfers?
I don't know. I don't know the intricacies of sort of our financial position depending on Champions League qualification. I don't think it changes too much in terms of our targets and who we look to try and sign, just because we're trying to go for the best players in a very small pool of players to pick from. So but obviously I think it's where we want to be. It's where we want to play. We want to be in the highest level competitions we can. We want to test ourselves to the absolute maximum and try and recreate those great nights here.
Thank you. Andy?
Morning, Eddie. Appreciate you keeping the players' fitness under wraps. How's your fitness?
Yeah, my fitness is okay. I did my first bit of exercise yesterday, actually playing against our under-9s in the Dome, and I looked pretty sharp. I was quite pleased. I maybe gave the ball away once, but no, I'm feeling stronger every day.
Good to hear. Dan Burn, it's his birthday today. I just want to ask you on Dan. It's been one heck of a season for him. Obviously, there's the cup final goal. There's the call up to England as well. Then there's the surreal stuff like having vans and goats and walks named after him, etc. Have you known a more, I'm careful how I word this, a more surreal season for a player in your time managing or not?
Yeah, I think Dan's season would be up there. I think at the start of the campaign, if he could have probably written the dream season, it would be very close to being that for him. I mean, scoring a goal in the cup final for him, and not just a goal, the manner of the goal. I mean, what a header that was. That's the best header I've ever seen him deliver. It was a great goal. It was a great moment. And then, of course, very quickly had the England call up, debut. I mean, that doesn't happen every day in a football career. So very special moments for him, but fully deserved. He continues to be a standard bearer for us in terms of everything that he epitomises. He leads us forward and drives us forward. And the beauty of Dan is he's not settled for that. He's not wallowing in that. He's now moving forward and trying to give more.
He's become really key for Newcastle, as has Joe Linton. Any further update on him this week?
Saw Joe yesterday for the first time in a while. He'd been away getting treatment and returned to Brazil briefly, but he's been back in Barcelona for another injection. I think he's feeling pretty good. Whether we see him before the end of the season, I'm not sure.
It's obviously a game against Chelsea, as the next 3 games are going to be, that are going to be high on pressure given the stakes. But this team seems to perform at its best when it's under pressure. Would you agree with that? And if so, why do you think this team performs best under pressure?
I think it has done. Definitely this season where we've been exposed to the bigger games, I think we've seen an elevation in our performance, maybe an elevation in our focus as well. I certainly feel that in the lead up to the big games, which is a great quality to have. I think we've got a lot of players that love playing under pressure. I think that would be the reason why. I think when I think of Bruno and Sandro and several other players within the squad, they grow with the pressure, which is again a rare quality and something that we need. And that's not always an easy thing to do, especially at home, especially under the pressure of playing in front of your own supporters sometimes. But I think that's a credit to the supporters. They've created an environment that is intense, but intense for the opposition, and it allows us to be free. So I'm hoping that we can deliver that again on Sunday. It's the kind of game that we need to rise to the occasion.
Just finally, I'll ask a quick cheeky one. Sunderland are in the Championship playoffs tonight. You've had an experience of a derby already
against Sunderland. Would you like 2 more next season, maybe, or not?
I think I was asked this yesterday, and I very much sat on the fence. If the games come, we'll embrace the games. But interesting to see the playoffs. Obviously, saw a bit of the game last night, and I think the playoffs always add a lot of drama. So let's wait and see.
Thank you. Nisha?
Morning, Eddie. We've talked many times in this room about Harvey Barnes and Anthony Gordon and their battle all season. How hard is Anthony pushing at the moment? Because he will be desperate to have that start.
Yeah, he is. He's pushing. Just in terms of his general training performance, I think. If I just think back, I think this is his best week physically. He had an issue, obviously, that he picked up with England, and it's taken him a while to get back to full fitness because it was a nasty injury. But he's looked good. I thought he did well when he came on against Brighton. He adds a different dimension to our game. Directness in running. Very front-footed player. So let's wait and see.
You mentioned that you were maybe slightly disappointed with the crossing against Brighton. Is that something you focused on this week?
It's something that's always there. I just thought we got into some really good crossing positions, and unlike us, that we didn't quite deliver that final ball that's been there for a long time. But that can happen. One part of your game can sometimes be off in a game. But of course, that's something we always prioritise, our attacking play. So a little bit of extra work this week.
And just finally, you talked about how your players, they elevate their levels for this big game. We've talked about the enormity of the game this weekend. Has it felt different in training? Has it had a bit of that cup final vibe this week? Has it felt different? No, I wouldn't say it's necessarily felt different, and I think that's a good thing. I think the players are always competitive. They're always driven to train well, and they are a very competitive group. They want to win, which is a great thing. The cup final, I think, was just a very different feeling. I don't think you can necessarily recreate that. But I'd love to think the players will be ready to play at their very best level on Sunday. Thank you. Good luck.
Thanks, Nisha. Damien Denley, Ryder, please.
Hi. You arguably saved your best performance of the season for the cup final. Will you need to replicate that on Sunday to get what you want?
Yeah, I think we'll have to go. I think we'll have to go close to that kind of performance in order to win. I think, as I said earlier, Chelsea gave us one of our toughest games of the season at Stamford Bridge earlier this season. I thought they were excellent, and I think they've started to recapture that form in their recent games. I think Enzo's a very, very good manager. He's very clever with what he does, with the style of play that they possess, and I think they've got really good attacking players that can hurt us if we're not right. So we need to get our preparation right. Our game plan needs to be good, and our players need to be ready to perform to their best levels.
Lee Ryder?
You had the postseason tour to Australia this time last year. Doesn't look like you're doing anything like that again this season. Is that a bonus for you as head coach, and will it give you a good solid start to pre-season?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for us this summer. I think we understood why we had to do it last year. There was a financial need. I thought the players' attitudes to that was excellent, because it's never easy, especially with the travel that they do during the season, to then add that on to the end. So yes, a clear post-season for us, which will be important. We need to make sure the lads are really fresh and ready to go for what potentially will be another long season ahead.
Just on the culture since you've been here at the club, before you came in, there was like a lot of fallouts and controversy when players left. People seem to leave here with a smile on their face these days, knowing they played a part. Is that something pleasing for you as manager?
Yeah, I think it. I don't know if everyone leaves with a smile on their face. There's always, I think in this game, there's always going to be moments of disappointment or different emotions that players will feel, and we totally understand that. And you can never have a perfect world, but I'd love to think that the players will feel treated with respect in every moment, whether it's good or bad. As long as they've given us that respect during their time here, we will always try and give that back to the players. Try and be honest with them, try and let them know where they stand. I think these are all really important values, because we want them to leave with great memories of playing for Newcastle. Ideally nothing negative, all about the pride of putting the shirt on, playing in front of the supporters,
hopefully leaving with some great memories. They're all really important things to me. As I say, it's never perfect, but that's the intention.
Thanks, Lee. We'll go to Luke, Ian, and then Craig, please.
What's the most enjoyable thing you've done away from football this season?
Personally, you've done me. You've got me. Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
That is a tough one. Can I come back to you?
Yeah, you can.
Good.
On a more serious note, what did you make of Chelsea's ability to navigate their way through PSR by selling a hotel and the women's team to themselves?
You're taking me to an area I know very little about, Luke. So if I don't have the knowledge to communicate an answer to you, I'll sidestep it.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Ian?
Very similar theme actually, Eddie. When you look at the way that Chelsea have been splashing the cash in recent windows when you haven't been able to, is it a feeling of amusement that they can? Is there envy? What have been your feelings when you've seen them bring in so many star players?
Absolute no emotion or feeling towards it at all, because they have every right to do what they want to do and run the club in their way, and I have no opinion on it. I have no opinion on any other club and how they run their football club. I can only speak about how we do what we do and why we do what we do, and yeah, I think that's all I can do. I think any other focus on any other club just leads to wasted time. We have a lot to think about ourselves and a lot to prepare and plan for, so all my energy goes into that.
Cole Palmer, outstanding talent. Looks as if he is approaching his best form again, judging on his performance against Liverpool. How big a threat is he if he plays like that?
Yeah, a big threat. I think he was excellent against us at Stamford Bridge. Going back to that game, he's got undoubted talent. He's got a lovely balance and a way of moving. Really, really nice touch of the football, and of course he's a goal threat and he's a creative force for them. So I think it would be unwise just to focus on him, but of course we have to try and deal with his threats. But there are other players as well that can hurt you. So I think, as we do, that they'll have to deal with our attacking players and what we do. That's why it makes for a great game.
Thank you. Craig?
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
The team in recent weeks, and then before that with Jason, it almost felt as if it picked itself. There wasn't a great deal of debate around selection. This week feels slightly different, given the impact Anthony had last week in the previous answer about being back to his best in training. Has he given you that real big decision to make this Sunday, and has he been to see you about it? Because I can't imagine he is happy being out of the team.
No, but I think there's an understanding from Anthony that he hasn't been fully fit. So no, we've had discussions and communication, of course, and I try to do that with all the players. But naturally, I know now he feels good within his body that he probably feels ready to start. So that's the decision I have to make. I get your point about the team almost picking itself. It never felt that way. Even though we were picking the same team for a run of games, there's always decisions to make, especially with the quality of the squad that we have. But ultimately, you have to try and pick on what you see, and then there's the sort of the rhythm and the relationships in the team have been good. So you've got to be careful not to change something that doesn't need changing.
And just on Joe Willock as well, with regards to selection, you made the call to bring him in when Joe Linton was injured. If you're going to play Joe Willock, have you almost got to play him to allow him to build that physical sharpness and the confidence, the mental side of it as well? Now you've made that call to put him in, have you got to keep him in almost?
Yeah, I get the point, and to a degree, yeah, you're right. I think Joe's a player of rhythm. He's an attacking player that, to play his best game, has to execute a lot physically, and if you're not quite 100% match fit, that's difficult to do. I think he's looked better with each game. But then I'll have probably 4 or 5 other players saying exactly the same thing. I need games to get my best form, and what I always respond to the players with that is you should get your match sharpness and rhythm from training because of how we train. So really there should be no excuse for anyone. They should come in and be able to hit the ground running.
We'll go to Dominic, George and Kieran, please.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
Sven Botman's came off the bench the last 2 games. Just how close is he to being able to start games for you?
Yeah, he's definitely getting there. I think he's had most importantly, a sustained run of training, injury-free, looking good. That's always a great thing for us and for Sven. I think he feels confident in his body again, which again is hugely important after the couple of injuries that he's had. He's a huge player, as we know, and he's got standout qualities. So yeah, he's close.
Fabian Chenku and Trippier came off late on against Brighton. Just how are they doing ahead of Sunday?
Yeah, doing pretty good.
Okay, George.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning, George.
You were arguably the first team in the Premier League to hit your season target in terms of qualifying for Europe, not to mention winning a trophy. Do you think that's resulted in a sort of sense of freedom in the players? I mean, I don't want to describe the Champions League as a free hit for you, but it does make you a bit different from some of the other teams.
Yeah, I think that the only issue with that is I don't think we necessarily feel that. I think we feel an expectation, certainly internally, to try and deliver Champions League football. It was an expectation that we placed upon ourselves. So I get sort of what you're trying to say, but I don't necessarily feel it feels that way internally. Certainly winning the cup final, I think, gave us a freedom and a newfound confidence, I think, off the back of achieving that gave us a bounce in the next few games. I think we elevated our performance off the back of that. But I think now that sort of feels like it was, in football terms, quite a while ago. And now we have to still use and take that confidence, but now we have to focus on these last 3 games, knowing, for me, just how good the team can be. I think we have to set our expectations very high of ourselves.
And obviously the questions about Anthony are kind of totally understandable, and the way he played at Brighton. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary to think that if you look at the first 2/3 of the season, it was Anthony and Lewis Hall, and that was such an important part of the team. Can you just pay a bit of a tribute to the 2 players who've come in for them, please?
Yeah, well, I can't give enough credit to both Tino and Harvey. I mean, I think I did feel last year in the Champions League run we had some injuries similar to obviously the one that Lewis picked up, that Tino went in at left back and did an unbelievable job for the team and arguably had his best games for us in that position. Then he goes back to playing on the right side, and it's never easy. The dynamic's totally different when you move back to the left. But I think he's been outstanding. I really do. I think defensively and offensively, his use of the ball, his tactical understanding has been excellent. So really big credit to Tino. And then to Harvey. I mean, Harvey's played in his position and he's played it very, very well. He's an undoubted goal threat in every game. I mean, he's one of our highest players for shooting and chances created. So I'm delighted that he's shown everybody just how good he is.
Thanks, George. Kieran?
Good morning.
Morning.
Can I just ask you, you obviously had the experience of getting over the line a couple of years ago, being hunted, being the hunters, holding your nerve during the run. Do you think that can help you 2 years on? A lot of these players were involved.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it brings back positive memories for us. I think we know sort of the feeling around the games that we've got to come. Doesn't guarantee us any outcome, but I think you can go back to those moments. And the game against Leicester was a bizarre one because we absolutely dominated the game and you felt that we were going to win the game. We didn't, and ultimately they had a chance very late on. Remembering that game, and Nick made a massive save for us. So sort of we can relive that tension and the drama, and hopefully it helps us.
It's a bit of a contrast between the 2 clubs. Obviously, the past 3 windows you haven't been able to do much business. Past 3 windows Chelsea have been able to do a lot of business. Can I just ask you about that challenge of competing with clubs with bigger wage bills? Historically, the higher your wage bill, the more points you get, but you guys are kind of booking that trend this season again.
Yeah, I think that's never bothered me. I think that's my career history's always been battling against teams with bigger resources. I've sort of lived in that world for a long time, so I count on other things against the ability to sign players, and I look at the other things that hopefully we can get an edge on our rivals with, and that's hard work and team spirit and togetherness and all those other things and those qualities that I never underestimate. We're going to need now more than ever.